Maureen, floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for hopping on. I'm just going to take, honestly, probably about 10 minutes where we'll actually go through the information about Panorama and how it'll be proctored by you guys. And then Craig will stop recording and you can just ask questions if you have any. So this should be pretty straightforward. I hope you all know. So this year is the first year that we'll be doing Panorama as our social emotional screener for third, fourth, and fifth grade. And it is a student report only survey. It is longer than what you would have been used to with Sabres. I will tell you this. So this 41 questions, it's actually slightly less than that for elementary because there's a category that middle school answers questions about that the committee that we took this to decided we didn't need to use at elementary for right now. But basically, I mean, the 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, is probably a generous amount of time. It'll obviously take a little bit longer the first time that students take it. But at middle school and high school, once the kids get logged in, it's usually a 5 to 10 minute thing because we've been asking the same questions for a couple of years now. Same as with Sabres, we're going to give it 2 times a year. So we'll take it now. The window opens on September 29th and closes on October 16th. And then we'll do it again a little bit later in the year, end of February through March, kind of that right before spring break. So again, trying to stagger those testing windows so that it's not overlapping with any of our other district assessments. Let's see here. So the categories that we're going to be asking, slightly different than Sabres. Panorama has different topics that you can select from. And then each of those topics has specific questions that come with that category. We don't have the ability to select specific questions, but these are the topics that we'll be using. Learning strategies towards the bottom of the slide there. That's the topic that only secondary students take. But all of the other topics are consistent 3rd grade through 12th grade. These are the directions. So I took what Panorama provides as some proctor directions, and then I threw this in ChatGPT and I just had it parsed down to a little bit more student-friendly language. You obviously don't have to follow this script exactly, but the general idea, just like in the past, if you were in the room when your counselors were proctoring, is that they just need to understand that it's a short survey that's designed to help us understand their school experience so that we can support them. And we want to try to encourage them to be honest, that they will be able, teachers will be able to see the results. And again, that's just so that we can understand how kids are doing, how they're feeling, and how we can do a better job supporting them at school and how their parents can support them at home. Let's see. So the way that students will get logged in right now, and I'm going to say I'm 99.9% positive that this is what's going to happen. And if it changes, I will let you know. But talking to technology, what we're going to be able to do is take the link that is the student link for the survey and put that into ClassLink. So you won't have to have them go to a website or initially we had talked about QR codes. We shouldn't have to do any of that. They'll just be able to go into ClassLink, select the survey, and then it's going to show them a page that looks like this where they will enter their access code. And at elementary, we decided that the lunch pin is probably the best code for them to enter because it's an individual number and it's something that they're already using probably. So students may need a little bit of help with that, but overall, we figured that was better than what the secondary schools are doing, which is their state ID number. That's a much longer number that elementary students haven't had to use yet. Opt-outs. So we've had a lot more opt-outs this year, probably in part because it was part of enrollment. So if any of you have a student in the district, you probably noticed that when you logged in to register for school this year, there was a section about the SEL screener, and we are required now by law, partly because of how we pay for Panorama and what funding it comes from, we have to have parents consent yes or no. So in the past, we just did that passive opt-out where an email went out from the district, and if parents read their email and clicked on the links, they were able to fill out a Google form to opt out. Now it was a required section. So we've seen many more opt-outs than we've had in the past. If you want to know who in your class has opted out, there's a couple of different ways you can check. There is a report that you can run through Infinite Campus, or if you look on that student's page under their OLR information, there'll be a little drop-down box where it'll say SEL screener, and it'll say either yes or no in that section. If it's blank, which some kids it is, we're assuming that's a yes. I'm not sure why those ones are left blank, but if it's a blank box too, then that would be a yes. And then the other way that you can find out is I did take that whole file and I downloaded it and tagged those kids in EduClimber. So if you have students in your class that were an opt-out, they're tagged in EduClimber as well, if that's a better way for you to find that information. And for those students, I will say too, just you could talk with your principal if there's specific plans that they have for what to do with those students during that time. They won't have a login, so not like Sabres where they could accidentally take it or you might accidentally fill out something. We don't have to worry about that with Panorama because they don't even have an account. So if they go to enter a code, it's not going to let them in. So they could read a book or whatever else you might have them do during that time, something on iReady. Students can have the questions read to them, but they have to turn it on. So when they log in, part of the prompts that you'll have to give them is there's going to be, this is a demo account that Panorama has, but when they go to do the survey, there's going to be a button they'll have to click that says turn on read aloud options. And then there'll be a little speaker icon that they'll use. So this is what it will look like on a full question. It can read them the question and it can also read them the response items. I know one of the things we were concerned about sharing this with counselors was just the vocabulary terms, and your counselors, actually a couple of them came in over the summer to develop some lessons so that they could come in and support explicitly teaching students some of these terms just to help them better understand the survey questions. But they will also have the option to have things read aloud to them. Couple different just frequently asked questions from Panorama about the survey. So students can't save and come back to it later. They do have to finish it in one sitting. We did have some issues last year where students weren't able to get logged in. If something funny happens with a student and you're not sure what's going on, just take a screenshot of it and email it to me. The feedback that Panorama has given me is it's hard for them to troubleshoot a problem if they can't see the error codes that the student is getting on their iPad. So just a little tidbit. And once the window closes, students can't go back in and take it. When we shut it down, it is closed forever. So these are just, again, a few little tips. If a student is having trouble getting in, just check that their code is correct. You can email me, or if you can't get a hold of me, you can always email Panorama directly through this link. But hopefully that won't be a problem. I also know that the counselors, the conversations I've had, they're planning to be on hand when each grade level is doing this, so they can be an extra adult in that space just to help facilitate this. Teachers don't have to do anything anymore, so there's no longer going to be a teacher report piece to the survey. It'll just be the student side. So that is the gist of it. I did also create, and I can actually put the link to these slides in the chat really quickly. But I also created a little short slide deck for you all when you're proctoring the survey, so that it's basically just a parsed down version of what this looks like, but it has those directions and some of the screenshots. So as you're walking students through how to get logged in and what to do, that'll be there as a guide to support you with that. And yeah, so that's it. And I'm gonna stop